Now at this point on my channel, I think I've made it pretty clear that I'm a huge fan of dividend growth style ETFs. Now this is because if you're talking high quality dividend growth style ETFs, you're talking about ETFs that are well diversified, cheap to own, but also have decent paying dividend yields that have also grown over the years. And because we've talked about so many of these different ETFs over the years, I figured that it's time to make a simple video and talk about my favorite three. Yes, my favorite three dividend growth style ETFs across the entire market out of all of them. Now, if you want to see exactly which three they are, make sure to stick around until the end, drop a like down below, and let's get right into the first one. Real quick for those that haven't already, make sure to go to the first link in my description and grab my new dividend investing ebook, where I share exactly how I went from $0 invested to now earning over $6,000 on a monthly basis and over $1 million invested in the markets. Along with the ebook, you're also going to receive my custom dividend tracker, where you can track your dividend progress on an ongoing basis and reach your dividend investing goals. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So my first favorite of all time dividend growth style ETF is definitely still to this day SCHD, or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. Now SCHD's objective is to track as closely as possible before fees and expenses the total return of the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index. And the reason SCHD, as of right now at least, is my #1 favorite out of all the different dividend growth style ETFs is because of the fact that SCHD has grown so much over time as far as ETF price, but out of all the high quality popular dividend growth style ETFs out there, SCHD offers the highest starting yield. Now I know what you're saying, there's no way that I'm judging a dividend ETF off of a dividend yield, but there definitely is some merit there. As a 31-year-old dividend growth investor that wants to utilize some of my dividend income to maybe retire early in the next few years, I definitely want to look for different dividend paying ETFs that have grown over time as far as price return. But I also need something that yields a little bit higher than the average just to make sure I'm generating enough cash flow if and when I choose to retire fully in the future. Now SCHD's performance has not been bad whatsoever. We're up around 207%, and this is over the past, say, 13 or so years. The last year, SCHD has recovered nicely, up 12.51%. This ETF, of course, is super cheap to own at 0.06%. The holding breakdown we've talked about so many times aren't necessarily my favorite companies across the entire market. I am, for the most part, a fan of all these different companies, or at least what they've offered investors historically. And even though some of them are not my favorite, because of the ETF's methodology, there's going to be new holdings in this ETF year after year if they don't meet the criteria. Now I talked about the fact that dividends are very important to me, maybe more important than the next investor, but also dividend growth is just as important. Getting paid, or potentially getting paid, more and more cash flow year after year is going to be significantly important, especially if I'm looking to retire anytime early and of course keep up with inflation and then some. Now for SCHD, the dividend growth is definitely there. In the last 10 years, up 11%, last 5 years, 12%, and last 3 years, almost 9%. So it's safe to say that at least I can assume that holding onto something like SCHD, I'm going to get paid more and more in dividends as time goes on, which is definitely important. My next all-time favorite out of all of them, dividend growth style ETF, is going to be iShares Core Dividend Growth ETF, or DGRO. Now right here on the iShares website, it says why DGRO. DGRO offers low-cost exposure to US stocks focused on dividend growth. So basically that's offering exactly what I'm looking for as a long-term investor. But to be even more specific on why I'm such a fan of DGRO and why this is going to be one of my main foundational positions moving forward here is the fact that DGRO, just like SCHD, has also grown significantly over time, up around 130% as far as price return goes, and this is in the last 10 or so years. But here's the main reason right here. I like DGRO's breakdown. I like the fact that financial technology and healthcare make up the 3 largest sectors, and on top of that, with being a huge fan of Apple and Microsoft, I like the fact that DGRO, although more of a dividend sort of income focused ETF that offers a decent starting yield, this ETF still has major exposure to upside with names like Microsoft, names like Apple, and even names like Johnson & Johnson, AbbVie, etc. Now DGRO is extremely diversified, 400 plus different holdings, so more diversified than that of SCHD, which I like, especially for an investor like myself that doesn't really want to have to worry about their portfolio all that often. DGRO is also very cheap to own at 0.08%, so nothing to worry about there. And also, like I said, dividends are very important to me, and maybe even a lot more important than some of the other investors watching this video. But with a 2.32% starting yield, not all that high, but again, decent. But with that, a 10.3% trailing 12-month dividend growth rate increase, 8% over the past 3 years and around 10% over the last 5 years. So once again, just like SCHD, even though I'm not getting paid out a massive amount of cash flow today, in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, I can assume, at least if history was to repeat itself, that DGRO is going to keep paying me more substantially. So because of the holding breakdown, the starting dividend yield, And the dividend growth rate, DGRO definitely makes it on top of my list as top 3 dividend growth style ETFs across the entire market. Now, out of every single dividend growth style ETF across the entire market, my number 3 favorite as of right now, and of course these can change over time, guys, this is just as of right now what I'm looking for, what I'm solving for, is going to be the Wisdom Tree US Quality Dividend Growth Fund, or DGRW. Now, right here in the Wisdom Tree website, it says why DGRW: gain access to the current investment landscape of US large cap dividend growing companies by applying quality and growth screens. Now, I came across DGRW maybe a few years ago, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. I haven't built out a sizable position of DGRW as of yet in my portfolio, unfortunately, because I've been using most of my cash balance right now to build out my SCHD position. But DGRW along with DGRO are going to be next on the list to start building out as a foundational long-term position, so don't you worry whatsoever. Now, this ETF is up over 20% in the 1 year, and on the max time frame, this is since around 2013. As far as price return goes, 203+%. Now, there's a few unfortunate things when it comes to DGRW. The one unfortunate thing is that it costs a decent amount to own, especially for this style of ETF. Its 0.28% expense ratio isn't cheap by any means, especially because you can buy into something like jepi or jepq, which offers a cover call overlay, more management intensive, and those ETFs only cost around 0.35%. So I will say DGRW's expense ratio is on the higher end, but because of this ETF's returns over time, I don't really think I'm going to mind whatsoever. Now, the other negative about this ETF is that basically it's always trading at all-time highs. Within this ETF, because of the holdings, there's really not been many opportunities to buy this thing for cheap, which just gives me more and more of a reason on why I want to start this position ASAP to ride this thing all the way up to $100 plus in the future. Now, my number 1 reason on why I love DGRW is, once again, just like DGRO, the holding breakdown. Now, even though I made it clear that I am sort of more of an income-focused investor, maybe more than the rest of the herd, although I'm not buying into ultra high yielding stuff that's going to NAV decay, etc., I do still want some foundational positions in my long-term portfolio to offer growth as far as price return and to grow my net worth over time. Now, with the breakdown with technology almost 30%, I think this ETF definitely has the potential to do that, and it has historically. Like I said, this ETF is basically only traded up and to the right, and this is since it came out. So with technology being around 30%, healthcare being around 16-17%, this ETF is going to be a little bit higher beta, which I don't mind. Once again, I wouldn't want this to be my entire portfolio, but I do definitely want some more exposure into this. With the top 2 names also being things like Microsoft and Apple, I love to have more exposure to either one of those. Although, of course, I do currently own 1,000 shares of Apple, I still don't mind having more. But all in all, the top 10 holdings of DGRW are probably my favorite out of all 3 of the ETFs we went through in this video. And although there are different ETFs out there that do have similar top holdings to that of DGRW and similar top holding breakdown sectors, I do think that all in all, what DGRW offers, with the previous performance, a holding breakdown, and of course that monthly dividend, which we haven't even talked about yet, DGRW does pay a dividend of around 1.7% trailing 12 months, so it is on the lowest end out of all 3 of the ones we went through. But with that, DGRW has grown their dividend around 6 or 7% over time, and again pays a dividend monthly, which is going to come in handy, especially in the future, if I'm looking to utilize some of my portfolio to help pay for bills, etc. All in all, even though I don't really see that many investors talk about DGRW, I think it's a super underrated dividend growth style ETF, especially because of all of the different things it has to offer, although it is very expensive to hold on to compared to the rest of similar comparable dividend growth ETFs across the market. And of course, it's very hard to buy into this one without it trading at a brand new all-time high. So there it is, guys. As of right now, my 3 favorite dividend growth style ETFs across the entire market. If I were to have to pick and choose 3, it would definitely be SCHD, DGRO, and of course DGRW. But now lastly, you already know what I'm going to ask you. If you had to pick 3 different dividend growth style ETFs and choose them as your all-time favorite as of right now, which 3 would they be? Drop the ticker symbols in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.